passionate instigator and dynamic problem solver, Dr. Kevin Ross Emery, the host of the Dr. Kevin Radio Show, will be taking you outside the box, behind the curtain, and identifying the load of BS we are fed every day. And now, Dr. Kevin.
Hello, 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 and welcome to the Dr. Kevin Show here on OMTimes Radio, where we're helping the world one ohm at a time. Here on the first Thursday of the month, like the first Thursday of every month, we have none other than my partner in crime, Matt Connarton of Matt Connarton Unleashed. And him and I put stuff through a spiritual lens, take it out for a walk, do whatever we do. Couple of things as we are getting ready to bring Matt on. To remember, first of all, we are a live call-in show. So you can call in and be part of the conversation, 202-570-7057. And I just realized that when I posted it, my dyslexia kicked in and I put the wrong number on the, okay, I say it all the time. That's again, 202-570-7057 is the call-in number. And you can also go to facebook.com/MyDrKevin, MYDRKEVIN. Make sure you like the page when you're there, because I'm a likable guy. You'll see some of the conversations Matt and I are going to be having today already posted on the line. And you'll also see how you can get in contact with Matt and follow him on his drive time show, Monday through Friday at none other than 95.3 in Manchester, New Hampshire. Do I have that right, Matt?
You did it. Yes, that is correct. 95.3. And
people can also listen to it and either live and participate also by going to ipmnation.com. So, that's that www.ipmnation.com. Anyway, so Matt, how are you?
Doing well. Surviving the heat. I think tomorrow it's supposed to finally break.
Yep, we'll be saying that. Yeah,
down in the 80s. That'll feel like winter.
Well, yeah, and I was in the first. I was marching with Jeff in the Southern New Hampshire AIDS Task on Saturday. +degree weather, marching down the streets of Nashua.
Oh.
They say we had about 1,000 people show up for it.
Very good.
Yeah. So I think pretty respectable for a first Pride.
1,000 people all marching? Or
No. Attending. That's what I heard. I didn't ask too many specific questions. Jeff came home and told me that number. I don't know exactly where they come up with it, but I just pass it on.
Yeah. Because I suppose if it were 1,000 people marching, at some point it's not a march. It's a stampede.
Yeah, no, there weren't 1,000 people marching, clearly. But the parade route was, sparse in a couple of places, but well lined. And it may have also included the people that came to the afternoon activities and, they had the drag show and they had all the booths. And I got to have some interesting conversations with the Young Dems, the Young Democrats. And then I had a conversation with the Democratic Socialist, not to be confused with Democrats. And chatted with the libertarians, and there was a lot of political groups there, except for Republicans or Democrats. Neither one of them were represented.
Right. Of course.
I don't know what that says about what they think about their LGBTQI.
I know what
following.
It says. I know what it says. If they're Republicans, they don't like you, and if they're Democrats, they take you for granted. That's what it says.
Yep. So I want to sue. Scott Pruitt just resigned.
Yes. Finally,
It was happening while you were on air. I was not on. Yeah, I wasn't on air. I'm actually on vacation from the show this week. I start back up on Monday. So I wasn't on the air, but I did just see it right before calling in to join you. And it's amazing that it took this long. Politico, I have an article here from Politico, and they're saying something about, they had reported just a couple of days ago, and I missed this, that Pruitt had installed former treasurer of his super PAC to lead the office in charge of releasing his public records, because there was that thing about him releasing public records for the agency and what was going to be released. And also, CNN apparently reported that Pruitt had directly asked Trump to remove Jefferson Beauregard Sessions III, your Attorney General of these United States, and that's my Jeff Sessions impression, and give that job to Pruitt. So perhaps that was just a bridge too far for the president, and decided to do a little swamp draining. Well, if you want to look at a picture of somebody who it appears from everything I've read knew how to be the biggest, baddest alligator in the swamp, I think you'd see Pruitt as one of those ones up there. The question is that what is will he be held accountable for all this misuse of government funds? Is he going to have to pay back for the 24-hour round guard security on his family vacations, his first class trip tickets? Are they actually going to go and say, hey, you owe X hundreds of thousands of dollars to the U.S. taxpayers for misuse of funds? What do you think?
No, it'll be a clean break. It always is. Nobody's held accountable for anything.
Well, they did say that they were still going to continue the investigation even though he wasn't there. And those numbers, those figures, will, if nothing else, will definitely be damaging depending on when they're released. For the middle sitters, as we've talked about 1,001 times, the hard left and the hard right have both hard of hearing, so they're not going to do anything. But right. You have your middle people. You do have your middle people. So, do you think that any of the damage that he did may get mediated, or are we out of luck?
No. I mean, they'll just move on. There won't be any accountability or anything. It'll all just it'll just move on, business as usual, with somebody else at the helm.
So, now my question to you is, because I pulled out a couple of stories that I thought it would be interesting or fun to discuss in today's show. But before we do that, it's been 4 weeks since we last met, and of course there's been some tremendous events that have happened since then, like my birthday yesterday.
Oh, happy birthday. I had no idea.
You didn't know July 4th was my birthday?
I did not. You're an Independence Day baby?
I am. I always say being born on the 4th of July means I came in with a bang, I'm going to go out with a bang, I'm going to bang my way all the way through.
Oh, my goodness. What TMI?
So that's what it means to be born on the 4th of July.
Yes.
So, so anyways, my question to you is, what do you think has been the most important stories that have showed up since the last time we've talked? What one do you want to put a little Matt twist in what you think really happened and what we heard for my listeners?
Well, that's hard off the top of my head, only because it has been a month, and of course, in the era of Trump, there's so much that happens every single day is just full of excitement. But I can tell you I can tell you off the top of my head the thing that I'm most excited about, and that is the Space Force. This is very exciting to me. And one of the things that I'm very excited about, Dr. Kevin, and perhaps you are as well, is I want to see what the uniforms look like when they are finally unveiled. I think this will be very exciting, and if anyone from the Trump administration or from the military is listening, excuse me, I have a suggestion. As far as uniforms, I would go in a sort of Star Trek II Wrath of Khan direction. I think those uniforms are awesome. I would not go with the first Star Trek movie. Those uniforms look like pajamas. But Star Trek II Wrath of Khan, I think that that's the way to go. And I assume that, that they will have Navy ranks in the Space Force, just like they do in Star Trek. And I'm very excited about this. There could be an alien invasion at any moment, and Trump is going to make sure that we're ready. And I think it's great.
Am I noting anything that any sarcasm in any of these comments, Matthew, by any chance? You may have. I was sort of half kidding about the uniforms from the first Star Trek movie looking like pajamas. They don't literally look like pajamas, but I don't care for the design. I would definitely go Star Trek 2. Okay. But I guess my question is, so you're in favor of the Space Force creation?
I think it's great. You know what, Dr. Kevin? At any moment, the United States of America could be pelted with a shower of asteroids. And I want to know that someone is protecting America. And I want that protection to be from the Space Force.
Okay. And you think with all of the financial issues that this country is facing right now and everything that's going on, that's a good utilization of resources?
Dr. Kevin, quite frankly, if America were to be suddenly destroyed by a series of meteor showers, it won't matter.
It's already been destroyed by media showers. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, and media showers, or any other type of shower that our president might be familiar with on a trip to Russia. Anything like that. If America is destroyed, whatever financial pressures the country may face will be irrelevant. Space is an existential threat to our country, Dr. Kevin. It must be addressed with the Space Force.
Okay, well, you heard it here first, probably. Well, maybe you already heard Matt take a parody on his own show at this. I'm certainly hoping it's parody. I think that the only thing that might get the U.S. out of its current situation would be a meteor shower, especially if we could direct meteors into, I don't know, D.C. and all the state capitals. I think we might actually survive our own political system. Outside of that, I'm afraid anything else short of that miracle, we're doomed.
Oh my goodness.
So anyways, talk about what do you think's going to happen with the Supreme Court justice?
Well,
what are your thoughts?
Concerned.
This is a hot topic.
Yeah. Well, by the way, this is I know a lot of people say this, so I'm not saying anything original when I point this out, but it does bear repeating. This is why elections matter. And this is why the election of Trump does matter, because some people think, it doesn't matter who's president. It's not that important. This is why elections matter, because we're very likely, with Trump and with a Republican-controlled Congress, we could very, very well likely get another conservative justice on the court. Not that Anthony Kennedy is not a conservative, but he would side with the liberals on certain things. And for the first time in my adult life, that I can recall, I really do feel like Roe v. Wade may be in peril. And as someone who's, I consider myself pro-choice. I'm sort of tepidly so, in the sense that my idea of pro-choice doesn't necessarily comport with most other people's idea. But I am concerned. Something like Roe v. Wade, or was it the Obergefell decision that effectively legalized marriage equality in the country? These are decisions that we could see overturned with the retirement of Anthony Kennedy and perhaps the installation of a new, more consistently conservative justice. So I'm concerned about this. I don't want to see us go backward, and I don't consider myself a liberal by any stretch. I think I'm pretty centrist in most of my views, and I have a libertarian streak. But there are things that that matter to me that I don't want to see go away. That I consider great progress that we've made in this country. In terms of protecting a woman's reproductive rights, and in terms of marriage equality, just to name a couple of things off the top of my head. There's probably, if I thought about it, I could probably come up with a long list of concerns in terms of what may happen with the court. But I'm more concerned about that than at any point that I can recall during my adult life.
Now, there have been a few very vocal Republicans, and he can't afford to lose any Republicans if he's going to try to push this through before election, which is so absurd when they held up the Obama appointment for, 18 months?
Oh, Merrick Garland couldn't even get a meeting with Republicans, let alone a hearing or anything approaching any kind of vote. Yeah.
But it was like for 18 months, right? Or something like that. I was trying to remember whether it was 18 months. I know it was over a year.
It may have been close to 18 months. It was over a year. You're correct.
But there are some Republican senators, Susan Collins in Maine being one, Lisa, I can't think of her last name off the top of my head, from Alaska. Kurkowski. Yep. Said that if that they will not approve a Supreme Court justice that feels as if they are going to go back and review things like Roe versus Wade. They say they're not going to allow it on their watch. Do you think that's going to happen, or do you think that Trump's going to be able to play him? Because it's too tight for him. Now, if the Senate stays Republican, then it falls into another thing. But his big push of this happening so quickly, I think part of it is because he's afraid he's going to lose the Senate.
I agree.
We'll be right back with Matt Connarton from Matt Connarton Unleashed.
Conscious media for conscious minds. OMTimes. Have you ever wondered how to change your love paradigm? The secret key is finding a love partnership, not just a regular connection. How do you find these? Through conscious relationships. Ascending Hearts Dating is a dating site for people like you that believes in second chances and a different type of spiritual connection. Try Ascending Hearts for free today at ascendinghearts.com and change your love paradigm. Ascending Hearts, the premier dating community for the spiritually awake.
Tune in to The Practical Intuitive, Mind, Body, Spirit for the Real World with me, host Robin Fritz, Mondays at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 Eastern. I'll cover personal and business intuition, animal communication, mediumship, space clearing, past life regression, shamanic insights, energy healing, soul choice, and more, all to help you tap your own intuitive and healing skills. No ifs, ands, or buts.
Mother, Mother Ocean. Hi, I'm Jimmy Buffett. West Indian manatees are one of the most unique animals on Earth, and we're still finding out so many new things about them. But manatees are endangered, and many of them are killed or injured each year because of watercraft collisions or other human activities. You can help save these gentle marine mammals. For free tips on what you can do, call Save the Manatee Club at 1-800-432-JOIN. Thank you.
Hello, 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 and welcome back to the Dr. Kevin Show here on OMTimes. We are here this week, as we are on the first Thursday of every month, with none other than Matt Connarton from Matt Connarton Unleashed. Matt Connarton, you can catch him live every day, Monday through Friday, except for this week when the slouch is on vacation.
Yes.
At 95.3 Manchester, New Hampshire, or you can tune in to IPMNation.com. And you can catch a show live, or you can get the repeats, or if you're there, you can check out the Dr. Kevin and Friends TV channel, which is also hosted by IPM Nation. So what do you think? We didn't get a chance to really finish that conversation about the Supreme Court justice. Do you think that there are going to be a handful of Republicans that are going to dig in, or are they going to get run over?
Well, I think numerically they could very well get run over. I mean, it is only the two of them that I'm aware of. Now, there may be some other. I don't know how many actual moderate Republicans we have in the Senate. Obviously, there's Collins and Murkowski. I don't know, and by the way, maybe
McCain is still in there. I don't know where he is.
Yeah, but I think he'll vote to confirm whomever. I think but I don't know. What I'm curious about is, and I'm going to see if I can look this up. Unless you know offhand, do you know, are Collins and Murkowski actually solidly pro-choice?
I don't know that they're solidly pro-choice, but I know they were very much fighting for Planned Parenthood.
Yes.
And and that they have said that they have come out and said that they are not interested in supporting somebody that wants to go and start overturning, well-established things. I mean, they have both said some version of that.
Yeah,
that much I know. And,
yeah, I'm looking online, and it sounds like they have been targeted by abortion rights groups in the past. So okay, I see though. They're trying to ramp up. Abortion rights groups are trying to ramp up the pressure on those two senators. So, yeah, I mean, I think they'll probably get run over. I think there's a real danger here with in terms of Roe v. Wade. And of course, all that'll happen is if it is overturned, it sends it back to the states. I mean, some people have a misconception about that. They think, if Roe v. Wade is overturned, then abortion becomes illegal. And obviously, we know it's much more complicated than that. But if it does, I mean, if it goes back to the states, then you have quite a few states in this country that are hostile in terms of their legislation to abortion rights. And then, and then what will of course happen is you'll have an influx of people seeking abortions into the states where it is still fully legal, and I think it's going to be a real mess if that happens. So I hope that doesn't happen.
Well, I'm hoping that it doesn't happen either. It would definitely up the wake-up call to people that might still be sitting on the fence. But it's, I don't know. I mean, you have a few wild cards. You have Senator Jeff Flake. He's not running again, but he would be voting on this if they try to run it through before the next one. Not been a Trump fan, not supported a lot of stuff. may or may not, support a let's take us back to the 50s Supreme Court justice.
See, unfortunately, my read on him is a little bit different in that I think he would support that because I think he's pretty conservative. I mean, he's not a big fan of Trump, but then again, neither are most of the Republicans who are on their way out, and some of them are very conservative people, but some of them I think they don't like Trump because Trump isn't conservative enough for their liking, or they don't think that Trump really is a conservative, or they feel about Trump kind of in a way the same way they felt about George H.W. Bush, where they didn't feel like he was really one of them. So I think Jeff Flake actually will support a prospective justice who would take us back to the 1950s, as you put it. I think Jeff Flake actually would support that.
Well, we'll have to see. We'll have to see how it unfolds. We'll have to see what kind of what if any delaying options can happen until the midterm. I mean, because the midterms, we're only talking a couple of months. I mean, just prolonging the hearings could take that long.
Yeah, I don't think, though, that they're going to – I don't think the Republicans have any chance of losing the Senate. So they just need to hold on to the Senate to get their nominee through. I mean, they might lose the House. They might not, but they're not going to lose the Senate. So I don't think they're really worried about that.
Well, we will see.
Yes.
That's all we can do. So now let's talk about this next story I have, which I found. It's a warm and fuzzy story. I wanted to get your take on it. I had a few ideas. Poachers eaten by lions after sneaking onto a South African game reserve. Did you see that?
I did not see that. Wow.
To hunt rhinos. Because rhinos, there are fewer than 25,000 rhinos left in the wild due to a boom in demand for their horns. And so they think it's 3, but it could have been more. They're basing that on clothes. They wandered into a pride of lions, and they were attacked and eaten, which definitely resolves any question about lions having any sense of higher taste buds.
Well, I'll tell you, the part of me, I'm conflicted about this. There's a part of me that doesn't want to laugh because that sounds like a really horrific way to die. However, the website Thrillist.com has a story. I Googled it. They have a story up titled, "Suspected Rhino Poachers Were Eaten by Lions Because Karmic Justice is Real."
Yep, I saw that one.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's
I kind of like the quote, the quote by the Sabua Game Reserves owner, Nick Fox. He said, "I think we had a stroke of luck here that the lions got to them before they got to the rhinos. We lost 3 rhinos in March 2016 by poachers sneaking in and doing it." I don't know. I think if somebody's caught, sneaking into the reserve, I think feeding them to the lions. I don't know. I kind of like the idea. It kind of works for me.
Yeah.
Say, hey,
well, you don't have to. You don't have to feed them to the lions. The lions will find them just fine, apparently.
Yeah, just take away all of their guns and all of their stuff and throw them in. Now I'm assuming that these guys probably had guns and there were just too many lions too quick and they just didn't ever get there. But I don't know. I'm kind of liking this. I thought it was an interesting way to do it. Now, did you read about the 92-year-old woman who is accused of killing her son because he was going to put her in an assisted living home?
Oh, geez, no, I didn't see that. Ooh, wow.
18 months ago, this woman, her 70-year-old son decided she shouldn't live on her own. Had her come stay with him and his girlfriend. Sold her house, all of this stuff. Then after, I think, about 18 months into it, they decided that she really needed assisted living. Now, I've not researched the story enough to know what happened to the funds of the woman's house that was sold. And of course, if you have a time period at which they cannot claim funds, if they, what would be interesting was to see, was the son trying to pull a fast one? We don't know. We know that she had a gun that her husband had given her back in the 70s. She had 2 of them, and she shot him, and she almost shot his girlfriend, and and she sat there quietly and waited for the cops to come get her, and then she had some great closing line as she said it. I'm going to try to see if I can find it again. It really made me laugh.
Is it this you took my life, so I'm taking yours?
And yours, yep.
Yeah.
I don't know. Was she crazy or not? I think the jury's out. She might have had a point. And, you got to figure out what?
Well, I was going to say, Dr. Kevin, this is why I keep my family at arm's length. My mom's getting up there, and I'm afraid she might shoot me.
Are you afraid if you didn't keep her at arm's length because she's getting old, you might shoot her?
No. Well, in self-defense, I might have to.
So anyways, an ex-DEA agent came out and said on 60 Minutes, opiate crisis fueled by drug industry in Congress. What do you think? True story or just a disgruntled ex-employee?
Oh, he's just telling the truth. But you know me, I'm very anti-drug war. I mean, to me, all of that is just common sense. Of course. No, what he said. I mean, yeah, that's just, I'm glad, he's saying it, but he's not telling us anything we didn't know.
Well, the question is, what do you mean by we didn't know? Because I think that there's a lot of people that actually believe that we do have a drug war on drugs, not that we actually are, just making sure that the people in power have a lot more money to stay in a lot more power through what they make off making sure that we think we have a drug war.
Yeah. I think a lot of people walk around in a state of self-delusion. It's funny, when I talk to people about war in general, whether it's the war on drugs, whether it's the war on terror, whether it's, whatever kind of war it is, I often find that when I find this with the show and in conversations off air too, when I lay out my points about why I think it's all BS, people don't really argue with me about it much, unless it's, you've got the very pro-war people who think that we should be out there in the world just dropping nukes on whoever we don't like and killing anybody who's our enemy. I mean, there are those people who just think war is really awesome and cool. But a lot of people who maybe aren't particularly pro-war but who seem comfortable enough with it, they don't really push back on me much when I say, these are wars. Like the drug war is, to me, it's not really a war on drugs. It's the government at war with its people. It's the government versus us. That's what the drug war really is, and that's why. Like I always say, follow the money. There's a profit motive here with the war on drugs. A lot of people make a lot of money off of the war on drugs. This is why these DEA agents have jobs because of the war on drugs. This is why we have civil asset forfeiture, where the government if they think you have a cannabis plant on your property, they can suddenly seize all of your property and assets with no due process and very little recourse. This is why we have these private prisons where, the private prison lobby, they do everything they can to make sure that, even cannabis continues to remain illegal so they can continue to keep those prison cells full. It's all a giant scam. It's a farce.
I would not disagree. I just think it's funny. I don't know if anybody will pay any more attention because it's an ex-DEA agent or not, but who knows? Maybe at least somebody will go, maybe somebody who worked at the DEA might have a legitimate opinion. Not all of these talking heads and the fake news. Who knows?
Well, every little bit helps. Every little bit helps because we are making progress. More and more states are decriminalizing and legalizing cannabis. Trump even, at one point a couple of months ago, we'll see if anything happens because you don't know with him, but he even expressed being open to something being done federally to get cannabis off of Schedule 1, much to the chagrin, obviously, of his Attorney General, Jefferson Beauregard Sessions III. But so there is real progress being made in this against the drug war. So I'm glad this DEA agent or former agent came out and said this. Like I said, every little bit helps. It all contributes to the progress that we're making.
So we're going to be going on break in a second, but I'm going to give you a list of states. You'll have our whole break to see if you can answer the pop question about them. What do these states have in common? Are you ready?
Yes.
Oregon, California, Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Florida, South Carolina, North Carolina, all of New England, Pennsylvania, Maryland, West Virginia, Ohio, and Michigan. Those are the states. I'll repeat them when we come back, and we'll be right back.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill, while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Hi, I'm Kelly Fox, host and astrologer of The Astrology Show. Each week, I'll give you access to the current transits, which are a valuable tool that provide astrological information to help unlock the potential each of us has. Understanding the stars can help steer us in the right direction to make better informed choices. So if you're wondering what's going to happen in your week ahead, be sure to tune in to The Astrology Show for guidance, Mondays at 9 p.m. Eastern Time.
This is why you work so hard to pay the mortgage. Because home is more than four walls and a roof. It's that porch swing on a summer evening. It's everybody over for Sunday dinner, and your family sleeping in their own beds at night. Making Home Affordable is a free government resource that can make paying the mortgage easier. Call 888-995-HOPE or visit makinghomeaffordable.gov.
Good night, Mama.
This is why. Brought to you by the U.S. Treasury, HUD, and the Ad Council.
Hello, and welcome back to the Dr. Kevin Show. We're here on OMTimes, where we're changing the world one ohm at a time. And here tonight I have with us, as I do the first Thursday of every month, Matt Connarton from Matt Connarton Unleashed, who you can hear, Matt, Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 on 95.3 Manchester, New Hampshire, or you can go to IPM.com and listen to his radio show live or hear the repeats, and you can weigh in. Matt, are you still here?
I am.
So, do I need to repeat those states?
Well, I mean, I certainly don't remember what they all were, but let me take a stab at it. Are they all states that have decriminalized cannabis?
Nope.
Okay, I don't know then.
Those are all states, and you remember I was like, there was Pennsylvania and there was Oregon, but there was also things like Arizona and Mississippi and quite a variety. Certainly not all blue states, certainly not all red states, and states that are scattered across the country. In 2016, these states actually achieved the following thing, that more white people died than white children were born.
Oh, I never would have gotten that. That's interesting.
Yep. Again, just Oregon, Nevada, California, Arizona, New Mexico, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, Michigan, Ohio, West Virginia, Maryland, Pennsylvania, and all 6 New England states.
Wow. So that's where all that white paranoia comes from. We're dying.
White deaths outpace white births in more than 50% of the states, and by 2045, the U.S. population will be less than half white.
Yes, we will be the minority.
Uh-huh. Well?
Which really upsets a lot of people. I personally couldn't care less. I mean, people are people, but you do have these white paranoids who just are really freaked out by that. They think that's one of the reasons why they'll tell you we got to seal that border. America's getting a little too brown for their taste.
Well, but one of the things that we're going to have to, let's face it, if the way things are going, again, in 2016, the states I mentioned had already white deaths had exceeded births. So now we're talking about the fact that, it's still technically 20 years away, 16, 17 years away, but we're headed to the point that some of these states, which are very traditionally conservative Republicans, who have been building a lot of their campaign on, anti-minority type policies, could find themselves changing color when you get these people in 16 years can start voting. And I think that you're going to find there's going to be some long memories involved.
Well, what is... I was just going to say, Dr. Kevin, what's interesting about that is the Republican Party will never quite figure this out, I don't think. But there is an opportunity there to reach out to Hispanics. If they could just stop being the party of xenophobia, a lot of Hispanics tend to, it's always a little awkward talking about identity politics, but it is a thing. A lot of Hispanics tend to be culturally conservative. So if the Republican Party could put away the xenophobia, and actually too, we talked about progress with the drug war. There is even some, to give credit where it's due, some progress, not much, but some progress within the Republican Party on this, in that, for example, when you take an issue like DACA, there are quite a few, actually, Republicans who believe that legal status should be codified into law to protect the Dreamers. A lot of Republicans are on board with that. So there is some progress being made. But if they could make that leap and stop running around talking about building walls and deporting people and whatnot, and actually sincerely reach out to Hispanics in this country, again, a lot of Hispanics, they maybe not as much as they used to be, but they do tend to be culturally conservative. They're many of them tend to be Catholic or Christian evangelical. There is an opportunity there for the Republican Party to take those people on and bring them into their tent. I don't think they'll ever figure that out, but there is an opportunity there.
What you're going to find is, in my lifetime, which is probably going to be your lifetime because you're younger than I am, we will see a change to the face of the Republican Party. We'll have to.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get the voters that are going to come in that are going to be all about fiscal conservatism, but are not going to be these xenophobes that are going to change the party of old white men. Change it from being the party of old white men, because those old white men are going to continue to retire, and they're going to continue to die off, and they're going to continue to do these things. And there's always been a big to-do in the gay community about, log cabin Republicans. Like, how can you be gay and be a Republican when they fought so hard against, gay rights and gay marriage and blah, blah, blah? But there were. And you still have log cabin Republicans. And
sure, yeah.
You have Republicans that are brown-skinned, and you have, they're out there. You look at Rubio. He's a person of color. So is Ben Carson, clearly.
Right,
and,
right.
So it's going to be an interesting thing. One of the things when I was in Curacao for my honeymoon that completely blew me away was, because I think it was 1797, I was still in the 1700s, it was the late 1700s, the slaves overthrew the powers that be in Curacao and ended slavery.
Uh-huh.
And one of the things I found interesting about the story, and I still have to find this movie and watch it, they did a whole movie about it a few years ago, a mainstream movie about it, and I keep on meaning to watch it, and I haven't. But here is an island which actually has, I'm going to say it's got a notable Jewish population, but it's still like 80% Catholic. And they are an island that does not fight about religion. I have to say, I had great respect for it, that they're very proud to say that they have some ungodly number of different kinds of churches and faiths there, and they all get along, and they all meet, and they work as a community, no matter what the faith is. Hindu, Buddhist, Muslim, they all work together on that little island.
Yeah, that's really good.
But one of the things that I couldn't get was how many of the people of color on Curacao were Catholics, when it's so recorded that at the time of the slavery uprising, when they left the plantations and they went into Williamstead and they revolted, that the Catholic priests were sent over by the landowners, and the Catholic priests basically sermonized and lectured these that they needed to go back to being slaves, that that's what God wanted of them, and that they weren't defying the slave owners, they were defying God when they did this, and that they tried to sell that and they held on to it. And I have to only think that the people who are descendants from those people who basically told the Catholic Church to shove it and overthrew it anyways have to be rolling in their graves when they go and genuflect at a religion that has been notoriously unfair and bigoted and has, promoted slavery and supported the slave owners for hundreds of years. It had a history of doing that. Besides the horrible things it did to the Native Americans.
Absolutely.
I mean, and I just don't get it. I don't get how you can think that suddenly this is the right God for you. This is the God whose preachers 200 years ago were saying you didn't have souls and you didn't need to be buried in religious ceremonies. You didn't need to be buried in cemeteries. You could be thrown in mass graves and because you had no souls. That's what they were preaching 250 years ago in this country. In this country, not just Carousel. I mean, I was talking about Carousel, but in this country, they were preaching that these are people who don't have souls. And yet, you're going to go support these people now? I don't get it.
Yeah.
Well, you want to explain it to me, Matt?
Well, I can't really explain it, but when it comes to Catholicism, I mean, there's a lot that, you can look at and say, yeah, I can't sign on to that.
Now, did we talk about it last show? I can't remember if it happened yet or not. Have you heard about that conversation that the Pope had with the guy that was the one who ratted out I think it was the Argentinian church for all its sexual abuse and made it topple? Did we talk about that?
No, this actually got by me. I didn't see this.
So there was a guy, and it was a few years ago he did this, which was he exposed, I believe it was Argentina or Colombia, but I think it was Argentina. But one of the big South American Catholic countries, he was the one that fought, and they ended up losing, like they're all the top tier of people, because he had been sexually abused by priests, and then all the priests and all the way up to the heads of the church of the country were caught with their cover-ups, and they went in and ruthlessly replaced them all. Well,
yeah.
So this guy met with the Pope a few weeks ago. It might have been a month and a half ago now. It's so funny because it went up and down so quickly on the news feed. But he's gay. He's admittedly gay. Doesn't blame his sexual abuse by the priest for being gay. That he isn't like the priest made me gay. He's gay, and he went and he had a meeting with the current pope, and the current pope said to him that he had nothing to be ashamed of, that God made him that way.
Oh,
and he had nothing to apologize for.
This part I know about. Yes.
Yeah. So I couldn't remember, but just with what we were talking about, it came back in my head, and I couldn't remember if we had discussed it on this show, if you and I had discussed it or not. And, of course, the Vatican's response when they were questioned about it, was this a change in church policy, was we don't comment on the private conversations of the Pope.
Right.
So
yeah, because that would be a huge shift for the Vatican. Absolutely, it'd be a welcome one, but that would be a huge shift. Yeah. Plus,
okay.
I mean, to be fair, we don't know, by the way, exactly if what this gentleman claims the way the conversation went, if that's literally word for word. He might be putting some spin on it. He might have heard what he wanted to hear. I don't know. I hope the Pope really said that to him.
Well, the interesting thing is if the Pope didn't say it, if the Pope wanted to say that, oh, I was misunderstood, or I understand, but, this is really, what I was trying to say, you would think that the Pope would come out and say that.
Right.
Because this would be saving the face for the Catholic Church. But the Vatican, like I said, does not comment on private conversations of the Pope. And then on the other hand, the Pope has remained completely, as far as I can discover in this moment, has stayed completely quiet about it. So he hasn't come and said, oh, that was taken out of context and, blah, 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 blah. And the silence is interesting. Now, this guy was from the same country that the Pope came from. So I think that's why I think it was Argentina. So, this was something that would have been something that the Pope might have said to a fellow countryman. And he was not known as being a really, obviously, if we look at what he's done since he's been in power, a really conservative, he was an interesting choice of Pope.
Right.
Probably more interesting than the people that nominated him and elected him counted on him being.
Right, yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. Call Me Francis is actually a Netflix original series that was on his life and his upbringing and stuff like this. We watched a few episodes. I can't say that it was engaging enough that we kept watching it, though. The more I hear about him, the more I'm likely to want to go back and maybe watch a little bit more. But he was definitely fighting in a time when the socialist bent country was fighting with the Catholic Church and was, killing priests and making up mock stuff. And he was one of the people that were holding the line of the church at that time. But I think we're talking about the 70s.
Okay.
So it was kind of an interesting time. So we
Absolutely.
the nation just had a birthday. And I was going to ask you what would the one wish you'd want them to have, but that's our time.
Yes.
Matt, as always, thank you for coming on, and I'll be talking to you privately shortly.
All right, sounds great. Thanks, Dr. Kevin.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.